Imagine walking into a car dealership, ready to make a deal, only to be told to wait outside because of the color of your skin. Sounds unreal, right? But for one Black CEO, this wasn't just a nightmare, it was reality. In today's video, we dive deep into the shocking story of how a successful Black entrepreneur was disrespected and treated with open bias by staff at a luxury car dealership. Little did they know, the man they tried to dismiss wasn't just another customer, he was the CEO of a major company. The story unfolds when this CEO, who's used to being treated with respect in high-level meetings, walks into a high-end dealership, hoping to purchase a car. Instead of the VIP treatment he deserves, he is ignored and asked to wait outside as if he were just another random visitor. What happens next is jaw-dropping. As the CEO stands outside, he quickly decides to turn the tables. But in a move that no one saw coming, the staff who thought they had the upper hand are about to learn a harsh lesson in respect, and it's a lesson they'll never forget. By the end of this video, you'll be on the edge of your seat, wondering how the story unfolds. What happens to the employees who made that critical mistake? How does the CEO handle the situation? Stick around because, just minutes after the wait outside comment, things take a dramatic turn, and it's something you won't want to miss. Stay tuned to find out what happens next. To understand just how shocking this situation was, we need to take a step back and look at who this CEO really is. He's not someone who typically deals with these kinds of situations. Over the years, he's built his business from the ground up, working long hours and making tough decisions that turned him into one of the most successful entrepreneurs in his industry. But despite all his achievements, the color of his skin still seemed to affect how others perceived him. On that particular day, the CEO had been searching for a new car, something high-end, something that would reflect his success. He had done his research and knew exactly what he wanted. He walked into the dealership with confidence, ready to make a purchase. His intentions were clear. He wasn't there to waste time. But from the moment he stepped through the door, things felt off. The staff seemed uninterested, almost dismissive. Instead of the warm greeting he expected, they didn't even acknowledge his presence right away. Then came the shocking moment. When the CEO asked for assistance, one of the employees, without missing a beat, told him to wait outside, as if he was just another tire kicker with no real interest in buying. At first, the CEO was stunned. He thought perhaps it was some sort of misunderstanding. But as he stood there, watching the staff continue with their work, ignoring him completely, he realized something much deeper was at play. What would you do in that situation? Most people would have just walked away or maybe raised their voice. But this CEO wasn't like most people. He had dealt with adversity before, and he knew how to turn things around. Instead of leaving, he made a choice that would soon flip the script on the entire dealership. As the CEO stood outside, fuming yet composed, he could feel the tension building within him. The absurdity of the situation gnawed at him. Here he was, a man who had climbed to the top of his field, only to be dismissed by a group of strangers because of something as irrelevant as the color of his skin. The dealership was a high-end place, known for its expensive cars and exclusive clientele, but to be treated like an outsider, like he didn't belong, it stung more than he wanted to admit. Yet, despite the frustration bubbling up inside him, he didn't make a rash move. He wasn't there to create a scene or let his emotions take control. Instead, he decided to observe. He watched as the staff, who had ignored him moments before, continued their interactions with other customers. They smiled, laughed, and treated everyone else with respect. It was clear that the only difference between him and the other buyers wasn't the kind of car he was looking for. It was the color of his skin. Inside the dealership, two employees were talking, one of them casually mentioning that they thought the CEO was just another guy who couldn't afford it. Little did they know, the man they had brushed off wasn't just any buyer. The words stung even more as he overheard them, but he stayed calm, knowing that reacting emotionally wouldn't do him any good. Instead, he made a call, an unexpected call that would change everything. Back in the dealership, The employees went about their work, blissfully unaware of the storm that was about to hit. The CEO had a plan, one that would not only show them the mistake they'd made, but also send a message to anyone who thought they could treat people like that. The tension was thick. Would they ever realize their mistake before it was too late? Minutes passed, but the CEO didn't budge. He stood outside the dealership, his eyes scanning the building as he steeled himself for what was coming. His heart raced, not out of fear, but because he knew exactly how powerful this moment was. What the staff didn't realize was that this wasn't just about a car. This was about dignity, respect, and accountability. He wasn't about to let them get away with this. He had made his call to the dealership's management team. They were about to hear from the very person they'd brushed off so easily. As the minutes stretched on, the CEO knew that soon, the employees who had underestimated him would have to face the consequences. But he wasn't rushing it. He had a point to make, and this was about timing. He had already made arrangements to escalate this as far as needed, but his goal wasn't just to have them fired. He wanted them to understand the power of their actions and the damage caused by their assumptions. Inside the dealership, the mood was shifting. The staff had no idea what was unfolding outside, but the first whispers of the CEO's identity started to ripple through the showroom. Word had gotten out that the man they had dismissed wasn't just some random buyer. He was a well-known CEO, a leader in his industry. The reality of what they had done began to sink in, but it was already too late. They had crossed a line, and now the consequences were about to catch up with them. As the tension built, the manager arrived at the dealership. The staff, still unaware of the storm about to hit, tried to smooth things over with the manager, offering excuses and explanations. But the look on the manager's face said it all. There was no turning back now. What was coming next would be a lesson none of them would ever forget. As the manager stepped into the showroom, the atmosphere shifted even further. The employees, already nervous, tried to act normal, but it was clear they were shaken. They hadn't yet processed the full weight of what had just happened. They thought they could brush off one customer, maybe even get away with a little prejudice. But the reality was dawning on them now. This wasn't just any buyer they had disrespected. The CEO's phone rang again. This time, it wasn't just a call from any regular contact, it was a call from his lawyer. The CEO's plan was taking shape, but now things were escalating faster than anyone could have predicted. His lawyer had just alerted him to a much bigger issue, the dealership's history of discrimination. It turned out this wasn't the first time complaints had been made about the dealership's treatment of minority customers. There had been whispers, rumors, and even some legal action in the past that had been quietly swept under the rug. This new information hit like a bombshell. It wasn't just about one disrespectful employee anymore. This was systemic. The dealership's reputation was on the line. The CEO knew this was his chance to bring everything into the light. The stakes had been raised higher than he ever anticipated. What started as a personal insult had now become a much bigger fight for justice. With the manager now fully aware of the situation, the CEO's legal team was already drafting a formal complaint. But the CEO wasn't done yet. His message wasn't just about the firing of one or two employees. No, this was about sending a clear message to the entire industry. Actions like these would not be tolerated. The employees could feel a shift in the air, but they had no idea how much deeper this was going to go. As the manager made his way toward the employees, the tension was palpable. The real showdown was about to begin. The manager moved swiftly toward the employees, his face grim. The tension in the room was suffocating. The staff had no idea what was about to hit them. As the manager called them into the back office, their stomachs dropped. They had tried to explain away the situation, but the reality was impossible to deny now. The CEO was not just a regular customer, but a man of power, influence, and resources. This wasn't a moment they could walk back. As the manager began to speak, the door opened behind him. The CEO walked into the showroom with a calm, yet commanding presence. His footsteps echoed in the quiet room, and for a moment, everything seemed to freeze. The employees, wide-eyed, didn't know how to react. They had no idea he was standing right behind them, watching them process their fate. The manager, now fully aware of the gravity of the situation, addressed the staff. "You've made a mistake, a huge one," he said. "This is no longer about a simple complaint. This is a matter of reputation, ethics, and trust. I've seen the emails. I've seen the complaints. And now we're going to fix it." But just as the employees braced themselves to the worst, the CEO did something no one saw coming. He didn't just demand their firing or escalate the matter further. Instead, he offered them a chance. A second chance. He gave them an ultimatum: use this experience to change, to learn, to make things right within the company, or face the consequences of their actions. The twist came when the CEO revealed that the manager, who had been guiding the staff through this mess, had actually been one of the people involved in covering up the dealership's discriminatory past. The shock on everyone's face was instant. The CEO had already made arrangements for a full investigation, but this last twist left everyone questioning the integrity of the dealership from top to bottom. It was no longer just about one employee's mistake, it was about the entire system being exposed. The shock on the employees' faces was palpable as the CEO revealed the hidden truth about the manager. It was a game changer. No one had expected that level of depth, that there was corruption at the very top of the dealership's chain. The employees, already stunned by their own actions, now realized that the problem went beyond them. It was systemic, embedded in the culture of the dealership. The CEO's calm but powerful words had a lasting impact. Instead of making an example of the employees who had initially disrespected him, he gave them a rare opportunity to change, to learn from their mistakes, and, most importantly, to make amends. But it was clear the stakes were high. This was no longer just about a single incident, it was about the future of the dealership itself. He didn't just want change on the surface, he wanted deep, structural reform. As the dust settled, the manager was quietly escorted out of the building. The investigation into the dealership's history of discrimination would soon unfold, but for now, the staff left the room with a mixture of relief and anxiety. They knew they had narrowly avoided disaster, but they also knew that their chances for redemption were tied to the CEO's next moves. In the weeks that followed, the CEO's decision to handle the situation with dignity and foresight made waves far beyond the dealership. News outlets picked up the story, praising the CEO for his ability to turn a negative experience into a powerful lesson. The dealership, for its part, began implementing new diversity training programs and revising its customer service protocols. For the CEO, this wasn't just a victory for himself, it was a victory for everyone who had ever been treated unfairly. It was a reminder that no one should ever be judged by the color of their skin or any superficial factor. And as the story came to an end, the key takeaway was clear. Respect is something that must be earned, not assumed, and true leadership is about inspiring change from within.